The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
Increase public awareness of harm to our society posed by such activists. And although we can never guarantee what the future actions of any judicial nominee will be, or any judge for that matter, and it may be difficult to discern whether a particular candidate will be an activist, I do not believe that there is anything in Mr. Garland's record to indicate that if confirmed, he could amount to an activist judge or might ultimately be an activist judge. Accordingly, I believe Mr. Garland is a fine nominee. I know him personally. I know of his integrity. I know of his legal ability. I know of his honesty. I know of his acumen. And he belongs on the court. And I believe that he is not only a fine nominee, but as good as Republicans can expect from this administration. In fact, I would place him at the top of the list. And there are some other very good people, so I don't mean to put them down, but this man deserves to be at the top of the list. Opposition to this nomination will only serve to undermine the credibility of our legitimate goal of keeping proven activists off the bench. I fully support his nomination, and I urge my colleagues to strongly consider voting in favor of confirmation. Now, I hope that we will also pass nominee Kohler-Catelli.
For the Constitution to give Congress broad authority over lower federal courts and yet constrain Congress from acting unless the lower federal courts first gave their prior approval? Wouldn't it make the power of the purse pretty much meaningless when it comes to the federal judiciary? Mr. President, so I then ask my colleagues to vote no on the current nomination and to strike a blow for fiscal responsibility. Spending $18 million on an unnecessary judge is wrong, and I say that as my colleagues previously have said it, and we all mean it. We have nothing against this nominee, Mr. Garland. He seems to be well qualified and would probably make a good judge in some other court where where the seat needs to be filled. Now, I've been around here long enough to know that there probably aren't votes to defeat this nominee, and I assume Mr. Garland will be confirmed. But I hope that by having this vote, and we've only had 4 judicial votes in the last 4 years, a clear message will come out of this vote to be sent that these nominations and vacancies to be filled, both, will no longer be taken for granted by the Senate of the United States. So let's be upfront about it. Filling the current vacancy in the D.C. court is as much about political patronage as anything, and not about improving the quality of judicial decision-making, because the formula doesn't call for it. And who's going to get stuck for the tab on all this? It's going to be the American taxpayer. I think it's time that we stand up for the hard-working Americans and say no to this nomination, not because of Mr. Garland, but because statistics say it doesn't need to be filled. So I want to make a few comments about those statistics